What's up? This is Marwan. I am near the Ottawa Canal, and what I want to talk about today is the concept of micro and macro momentum and how you can use it to stay motivated. So I previously talked about the concept of momentum in a previous video, and I'll put a link below somewhere down there. And so what I want to talk about today is go more in depth in the concept of momentum and talk about micro and macro momentum. So if you don't remember what momentum is, basically it's the driving force that you accumulate as you take action, as you take massive amounts of action towards a goal that you have set yourself. So micro momentum is the amount of momentum that you gain, the driving force that you gain from going towards a set goal on a short-term basis, whereas macro momentum is the amount of driving force that you gain on a more long-term basis. So how can I break down like micro momentum? Micro momentum would be more along the lines of, let's say you just got up in the morning and you gotta have to like drag yourself out of bed, and you take like, let's say you take like one step out of the bed, one step toward a few steps towards the washroom, and you kind of like are dragging yourself around, and you're kind of like accumulating like small amounts of momentum to get out of bed. Like that's kind of one way to do it. Another way of looking at micro momentum is on a more social standpoint. So on that note, it's more like, let's say you go to a networking event, and you see a bunch of people talking to each other, a bunch of professionals talking to each other, and you see, let's say, that one guy drinking a beer by himself at the bar station. So you just arrived, you don't really know anyone, so the first thing to do is talk to the person that's alone. And once you talk to him a bit, you're building a little bit of momentum, and then you talk to the next person, and then you talk to the next person, and then you just go from there. So that's more about building momentum on a more micro level. So what does building momentum on a more macro level mean? So let's just use the two examples that we just used and look at them from a more broader, like long-term perspective. So in that case, it would be more like, in a long-term note, it would be, let's say you wake up every single morning at 5 a.m. Like every single morning, like you make something like a 30-day challenge, let's say, and every single day on that of that 30-day challenge, you're gonna wake up at 5 a.m. So let's say you do pass that, and after like, let's say a week's worth of always waking up at 5 a.m., you're building more of a macro momentum because you're doing this every day. So on the 8th day, the 9th day, the 15th day to 20th day, it's not as hard to do it as compared to like the first couple of days, because you've already gained so much momentum. And in a more networking event standpoint, it's more along the lines of like dragging yourself to kind of push yourself to talk to people instead of letting people talk to you, because in networking event, like everyone's just going to talk to everyone. So naturally, a lot of people actually do wait until they get approached first. So if you're so used to always doing that initial approach without having anyone to push you, and without having like your friend to push you or waiting to get approached by someone else, you're going to build that macro momentum of every single time you go to an event, even if it's not a networking event, even if it's just like a social event, you're going to be so used to being the one that initiates the first couple of conversations that you don't really have to push yourself to do that. So that's pretty much a concept that like you can be applied to pretty much anything. That can be applied to going to the gym. On a micro momentum standpoint, going to the gym is more about actually doing those first couple of workouts, doing those first couple of reps. That kind of gets you in the state of like being in the gym. And on a more long-term basis, it's more about actually going there. So it's like dragging yourself every single day at a particular time to go there. And that's more of a looking at going to the gym on a more macro momentum standpoint. It's something that like once you recognize it, once you get more in touch with how like your brain works, and once you start recognize it, you'll actually start noticing that like, okay, I have a little bit of momentum right now, I want to use it to my advantage, instead of getting halfway there. Let's say like you're halfway through your morning ritual, but you're so tired, and then you just like fall back to bed. I know I've done that too. instead of doing that, you're kind of aware that, okay, I have a little bit of momentum, let's not fall back to bed, and just like use that and keep moving, pushing forward. So it's something that you can use, again, can apply to a lot of different things, and it's been helping me out a lot, because I find that recognizing that you have that it's actually going through your head, it has a bit of a feel to it. It's kind of hard to pinpoint what momentum feels like. It's kind of something that you understand, and you're like, okay, once you kind of accumulate a little bit of momentum towards a particular goal, you're going to be like, okay, so that's what that thing is. Like, I've been doing it for so long that now it's so easy to do. That's because I have a lot of macro momentum. And you'll notice once you stop, and let's say you get a little bit lazy for, like, let's say a few days or even a few weeks, mostly if you get lazy for, let's say, going to the gym for a couple of weeks, you might find yourself it's going to be a little bit more difficult to drag yourself to the gym like the next time, because you've been lazy for like a couple of weeks straight. So you'll kind of notice the ups and downs kind of thing, and you'll notice like, okay, man, I have no momentum towards that particular action, towards that particular goal, and I really need to build some from scratch, or maybe even rebuild some if it's something that you used to do but you don't do anymore. And that's a concept that's been helping me out a lot, and it's something that I am well aware of. It's something that everyone has, but they're kind of not really self-aware that they have it. So it's one of those things that you kind of like, as the more you learn about like how your brain works, you kind of learn to break down certain concepts, and that's just like one of the many concepts that we as human beings have. So on that note, until next time.